There's really no way to unpick your subconscious programming without unpicking your relationship to the God who you believe or don't believe you were created by. Regardless of the religion that you follow or your spiritual beliefs, whatever you believe about God has been influenced by some type of marketing. Since your birth, the concept of God has been marketed to you through the lens and interpretation of other human beings. Your caregivers, your religious leaders, your schools, mainstream media have all to some degree had an influence on the characteristics that you associate with God, who or what you think God is, and most importantly, how you think God sees you at your core. And if you want to live a life that's aligned with your desires, then you'll need to get curious and honest about the God that you feel connected to. In my free ebooklet called 10 Mindset Shifts That Will Shift Your Reality, which I've linked in the description box, I make mention of the distance that we often observe between our current reality and our desired reality, and how disheartening and impossible that can feel. Rather than just considering that distance as part of our journey, we often take it as proof of our inadequacies and use it as evidence to reinforce our limitations. And what we believe that God believes about us plays a really big role here. For example, is the God that you believe in separate from you, up there somewhere, watching your every move? Is God the big judge in the sky that you need to approach meekly because of your unworthy and sinful nature? Do you feel ashamed in the presence of the God that you believe in? Is the God that you believe in always cross with us? Do you need to live cautiously and on thin ice, or face being banished to hellfire when death comes? What does the God that you believe in think about you having fun, indulging, resting, playing, creating, having lots of money? In the words of Fela Kuti, is suffer for earth, enjoy for heaven, one of the main principles of the God that you believe in. And I'm making reference to the God that you believe in because this is not about any one religion or spiritual belief. This is about the way that God has been marketed to you and the version of God that you now feel most connected with as a result of some of that marketing. I spent not all, but some of my childhood being raised in the church where God was marketed every Sunday, Wednesday and Friday. Through other human beings' interpretations of the Bible, God's personality and characteristics were pieced together and presented to me. And one thing I always remember hearing about was God's will. And I want to ask you, when you think about the distance between your current reality and your desired reality, where on that map do you place God's will? Do you believe that God's will for your life could be the complete opposite to what you desire for yourself? Would the God that you believe in subject you to a will that is completely against your own? And would you have a duty to submit to that will regardless? I think it's really important to reflect on this, because if you're consciously or subconsciously linking the distance between you and your desired reality with your self-imposed limitations and the fact that it might also be the will of God, then your self-imposed limitations become conflated with the will of God. And you're then able to justify remaining in the comfort zone of your fearful ego. And I talk more about the ego in another video, which I'll link to the end of this one. If you believe that you're not worthy of your desired reality and that God agrees and probably has another will for you anyway, then where does that leave you in even daring to take a step towards your desired reality? Where does that leave you when you do take a step and naturally encounter some challenges along the way? Are you likely to be able to recover and persevere? When I decided to start taking steps towards my desired reality, I had to ask myself some critical questions about the God that I believe in. I had to ask myself, do I believe in a God that sees me as perpetually sinful and undeserving of the blessings that I desire? And more importantly, does that God believe in me? I had to ask myself what kind of God I see evidence of when I take an honest look around me. A God who created the creatures and the mountains and the seas and the oceans. A God who created this earth as a canvas for art and creativity. The same God who made colours, coral reefs, rainforests, ecosystems, trees that live in community and have complex systems of communication that run underground. A God of variety and majesty. Our egoic need as humans to be in control is what fuels us to want to know what is essentially unknowable. to want to know and understand a God whose creations we can't even fully conceptualize because of the limitations of our 5 human senses. And I talk more about this in another video, 9 mindset shifts that will shift your reality. But never forget that everyone on this earth is on the same life cohort as you. So however God has been marketed to you and whatever influence that has had, remember that it came through the filter of other human beings' interpretations. Other human beings who were experiencing their life journey for the first time, just like you.